Today I'll be talking about homeowners policy. Guess how many people in America, especially as of 2023, seem to be homeowners in the USA. The statistics say 64.1%. The home ownership rate in 2019 was 64.1%, up from 63% in 2015, but below the peak years from 2005 to 2009. So let's say 64.1%, like for the sake of argument, you could say 64%. So meaning that 64%, 64 people out of every 100 people that we see, or 64% of Americans, of 100% Americans, they own a home. I think that's fantastic. I don't think every country around the world, they probably don't have that much of a homeowner, or they do. That's a different thing. So today I'll be talking about homeowners policy. In general, we call it a home policy, or home insurance. A lot of people just call it like a home insurance, how much you're paying for your home, stuff like that. So homeowners policy, it's a pretty much a requirement nowadays, because no matter what, if you have a loan, if you have a mortgage, you would not be able to get a loan. You would not be able to get a mortgage on your house unless you really have that declaration page of your homeowners policy. The lenders, they might have certain requirement, but even the best realtors told me it's always wise to have the highest amount of coverage as much as you should, because if anything goes south, God forbid, what's going to happen to your house, right? Where are you going to stay? So that homeowners policy, I find it very important to understand, because 64% Americans, if they are homeowners today, what percentage they really go through their policy and they really even try to understand what is the homeowners policy. So homeowners policy, or home policy, it's one of those personal lines insurance policy. Basically, once you have a mortgage with the company, every year the mortgage company, they make sure that, when you pay a mortgage out of your escrow account, one part is tax, that's city tax that you're paying, and also another part is the homeowners policy insurance. And it depending on, how you're paying your escrow, either paying in full or you're paying by installment. At the end of the day, as a whole package, this is what you see every month that you're paying your mortgage premium, correct? And there is a time of the year, depending on the company, depending on places, stuff like that, they actually send you a letter, right? They also tell you that, what, this is how much your mortgage is going to be changed. It could be going up, it could be going down, different scenarios, right? So if you're really looking at a homeowners policy, I understand pretty much everything is online now. A lot of company actually, they pretty much send you email, text a lot of time, right? By the name of, saving the nature. I'm also, with saving in nature policy believer. But the bottom line, pretty much they really pushing you just to say, what, you don't want any paper mail. You want everything online. You want everything through your email. Well, there's a good thing about email too. It gets into your email, it stays there. Mail could be lost in the sausage, lost in the mail, lost in the street. A lot of things could happen. But then anyway, a different person could have different opinion on that. Me personally, there are certain things I still believe I should be getting a copy via mail, and I should still be getting a copy if it's possible via email, so I could have both for the sake of my safety. Now, once you have a homeowners policy, how many people actually they really go through their policy? Because I understand not everybody is insurance professional. The insurance professionals, those are the professionals, including myself, with the help of God. Our job is to help you understand, pretty much, once before, even, giving a quote to, one of those prospects saying that, this is how much you're getting, this is how much you should have. And then the underwriters go through everything. And at the end of the day, you might come up with an approval, you buying and it come up with an approval. Policy gets, to your house in a couple of days after you bind it and everything. It varies company to company, but it's policy to policy. Or you could get rejected. Or maybe you're shopping around the price that you're looking for. Maybe you're not getting the price that you're actually asking. Because you have to understand one thing in mind. 5 years ago, the labor cost and the materials cost are not the same like 5 years after today. You could just go to Home Depot, a little bit of wood, that piece of wood. I noticed 5 years ago they used to be like $9, $10. Yesterday, just a couple of days ago, I went to Home Depot and I saw it like $19, $10 went up. So imagine a whole house replacement cost, how much that could be. So to make a long story short, once you have a homeowners policy just like that in your hand, what do you need to do? Just open up the declaration page for professionals, for lawyers, doctors. Pretty much everybody nowadays they know what is declaration page. As an American, we like to call everything by acronym, right? So declaration page is basically we call it deck page for us to understand. And deck page, it's like for me, I literally call it like a mirror. It's like you're seeing yourself, meaning that whatever you have, this is like a summarized version of the coverage amounts that reflects on that piece of paper. It's called deck page. It's a very important page. A lot of time, you can't even buy any contract if you're a contractor or stuff like that. A lot of places, they might be asking you something called certificate of insurance. Now, declaration page, it's something that shows exactly how much you have coverages for and for what purposes. And certificate of insurance, if I'm not wrong, it's pretty much a paper, with a stationery of the insurance company saying how much coverages you have, based on how much you'll be paying, stuff like that. But certificate of insurance, I'm not sure if they might have the amounts you'll be paying as well. They might not. It might vary from state to state. It might vary from carrier to carrier. But anyway, deck page, it's something that you'll be looking at. If you're a contractor, if it's something else, a lot of time they want you to show proof of insurance. Then you have to call the company, or you could go online and you can click on the bottom. They might have it says certificate of insurance. Once again, the deck page or the certificate of insurance, the purpose is to make the other party understand that if you have an insurance, how much, and that sort of nature. Now, once you look at a homeowner's policy, the homeowner's policy basically, you will find section 1 and section 2. Section 1 is basically, in general, they try to call it property, and the section 2 is liability. If you go through section 1, you will have to actually go through the lines. It's going to say coverage A, coverage B, coverage C, and coverage D. Coverage A, it's basically dwelling. A lot of people don't even understand. I know what it is, dwelling. I understand. America is a land of immigrants. Me, myself, also came here like 20, 25, 30 years ago when I was 18, 19 years old. That's what you could see, still have a little accent of, Bangladeshi background. But for you to understand, for me to understand, even before I became an insurance professional, I didn't even know what is dwelling. Dwelling is basically a structure, right? The wall, the roof, anything attached to it. If I'm not wrong, that's called dwelling. So dwelling is basically, once again, the wall, the roof, and anything attached to it. So dwelling is the most important part of a homeowner's or home policy. The reason I say so, because if you're really looking at your homeowner's policy or home policy, especially for the past 5 years, if I'm not wrong, you would definitely be noticing that it's going up and up and up and up, right? Especially the dwelling cost, right? The replacement of a dwelling, right? And what is replacement? Replacement is something that is, let's say this is a dwelling right here. And in order to replace that dwelling last year, it used to cost $345,000. But after 1 year, the insurance company, they're saying, based on market value, based on if they're going to Home Depot or if you're going to Lowe's, the contractor's cost and everything, materials cost and everything, they will come up with an estimate. And they might even say, don't be surprised, no, it's going to cost $435,000 today. Meaning that it's almost like $100,000 more than last year. Well, it's the market. I mean, no one has any control over that, right? The labor cost, once again, materials cost, pretty much everything is going up, right? With the inflation, with the pandemic, everything pretty much, we all are affected by those things. So that is actually dwelling, which is very important. The lenders, the mortgage companies, they basically, I don't think they will actually push you to have the highest coverage, because on my mortgage, when I call the number they gave me, which is like not even 1/4 of the total replacement cost of that time. Then my realtor, he said, there's no way you should do that. You should always go with the insurance company with the estimated value of replacement. They're coming up every year, so that way you could have a peace of mind saying that my house is should be protected as of current market value of the replacement cost, right? And that's what dwelling, right? And once again, so dwelling is very important because this is like a main structure of the house, right? And we already gave a number just for you to understand. Let's say your house was worth $345,000 last year. This year you got a letter saying that your insurance policy is about to expire. We're gonna put you in a new insurance policy, and guess what? You're dwelling, the replacement cost or the dwelling cost would be like $100,000 more, which could be like 400 and let's say $35,000, something like that, just 100,000 more. Then coverage B, it's other structure. Other structure, if I'm not wrong, majority cases it's like dwelling or homeowners policy, 10% of the dwelling. Let's say you have a garage in the backyard, right? And you have a gazebo in the backyard, or you have a little something going on down there. So anything detached, not attached to the main dwelling, it's called other structure. And normally they are like 10% of the total dwelling cost. If the dwelling is covered for $335,000, then if anything to go south, God forbid, the other structure should be like 10% of 335,000 is like how much? If I'm not wrong, 10%. So it's basically 10% is 30, and there's like 33,500 if I'm not wrong, some kind of number like that. Then personal property. Personal property is covered C. What is personal property? Your home computers, the small home office computer. Once again, home office computers, home office, there is an insurance for home office as well. But just for us to understand, every little thing that you have in the house, your TV, your freezers, if you have an expensive bed, if you have expensive, jogging machine, every little thing, as long as there's a personal property, that should be on coverage C. Then coverage D is loss of use. God forbid something goes south. Pretty much every property insurance policy, in fact, property insurance policy had a name called fire policy days ago. Now we are actually calling it property policy, right? Then again, in commercial lines, any establishment is called as property policy as well. So loss of use is basically, God forbid something happens, your house burned down. Loss of use is basically covers at least like a couple of items, like fair rental value. Fair rental value, it's something like, let's say, if you have a 2-unit dwelling, 1 unit you're staying there, another unit you're actually renting out, which should be covered by dwelling policy. Dwelling policy is another type of, home policy. There are two different types actually, dwelling and, homeowners policy. Homeowners is something the homeowners must stay there. And dwelling, a tenant could stay there. And the homeowner could maybe stay in another unit, like, like I say, 2-unit. So if the whole house burned down, not only you have to, leave that house, your tenant has to leave that house too as well, right? So based on what kind of policy you have, the payouts would be different. I'm not going to get in there in detail and confuse you. So fair rental value is like, let's say, whatever rent you're collecting from that part of that unit, let's say $1,200 a month, and until they build a new house again, so think about like next 1 year. So 12 times 12 is like, $14,000, some change, whatever, right? And it also covers additional living expenses, meaning that your house burned down, it's a direct loss. If I'm not wrong, then most likely you and your tenant is going to stay in a hotel. At least you have, for your part I'm talking about, I'm not going to talk about tenant right now. For you, the whole family is staying in a hotel for 10 days, then you're going to have to rent out a place. The hotel is going to cost you at least a couple of $100 per night. Then you have to rent out a house, it's going to be costing another couple of $1,000. And then government ordinance, like, the government order something, you have to leave the house, stuff like that. So the whole things pretty much are named as loss of use. And loss of use also fetch a certain amount of dollar if the house or anything happens to your home or something goes south, God forbid. So all these, A, B, C, D, A, dwelling, B, other structure, C, personal property, and D, loss of use. I just covered that. These 4 parts are the elements of section 1, which is property. Now we're going to talk about liability. This is very important, folks. Liability, under section 2, you have E and F. E, you could definitely call liability. Try to understand liability, your enemy. Not in a negative way, like somebody who is reluctant to sue against you, right? So liability, another way you could think that way, it's your responsibility. Not enemy, like a responsibility. Liability, which actually you're responsible for, and that's you're liable for. So to say, then that's your liability. So liability coverage is pretty much homeowners policy are huge, like $300,000. But don't be so happy with that, because I have seen cases My senior mentors, they have say $300,000 is nothing, because a lot of time those medical bills, whatever happens, they come up to like four, five, $700,000. Then the homeowners policy liability part probably just paid, and but still the half of the money is still not there yet. So what's going to happen? That party could sue against to take you to the court. If I'm not wrong, the honorable judge might garnish your check, or the honorable court could do whatever within their laws and everything, right? That's a lot of people carry another type of policy. It's called umbrella policy, which is basically on top of your home and auto. If there's a difference up to a certain amount, umbrella policy, there is like two different types as well. But the first one, I believe, is standalone. That's the one I'm going to refer by here. Should just go ahead and pay the difference. I hope you understand that part, right? We'll talk about the umbrella policy another day. So liability, it's like, let's say somebody actually, just somehow fall in front of your main door and it got really hard, went to hospital, the knee has to be replaced. The whole bill came up like $45,000. And guess what? You have the total, all the papers, all the documents and everything. If I'm not wrong, as long as if you should be covered by your own homeowners policy, you should file a claim with the own insurance company, which is the homeowners policy insurance company, and you should go from there. Once again, the outcome completely depends on the claim department of that insurance policy, because a lot of people, they just think, wow, I'm covered. There's no way you could be covered for everything. So what are you actually covered for? Basically, insurance policies, they cover a couple of basic perils. One of the perils is fire, especially for homes. That's why I keep mentioning that word. Hope, God forbid, that never happened to any of your home whatsoever. So that's how the liability part is very important. Like in general, I'm saying like majority liability, part E, people carrying $300,000 policy, or companies actually automatically put in $300,000 unless the client actually wants to change that, or if they allow you to change it whatsoever. Then the last part is F. F is sort of, for my interest to say, think about your friend. Let's say something happened, your next door neighbor somehow got hurt in the same manner at your doorstep, or maybe, your dog bite them. They don't want to go to a small court or anything. They do have like a $800 bill because they had to go to the hospital, all that. Like a friend, you want to have a great relationship with your neighbor. If you call the insurance company, and normally F, F is basically, like I say, medical pay. It's only like $1,000 in average, or pretty much that's what I've been seeing. That's what I was told. So that's it for the homeowners policy. Once again, every policy, the first page, or at least the declaration page, is like a mirror that will tell you exactly how much coverages you have for which purpose. You should be also looking into your exclusions. You should be looking into your additional insureds. You should be looking into if there's any endorsement. You should be also looking into pretty much every little line if it's possible. I know it's not really everybody would do that. Trust me, there are some people, they would love to do so, but majority, I guess, they just don't want to go through that. They don't even open the envelope, right? All right, that's fine. So why don't you just look at the basics of deck page, how much coverages you have under section A, which is the property. I just told you, like dwelling, other structure, personal property, loss of use. And then also for liability, how much liability you have as a liability or medical pay, which is E and F. So at least you can have a peace of mind. And mind you, there are also like endorsements. That is a different thing. I'll talk about that later. But today I just wanted to point a basic look of a homeowner's policy, how they might look like to you once you open up the declaration page or deck page. If you still have any questions, feel free to call me, 347-536-9484. All my information should be at the bottom of the screen and also in the description box. That's it for today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.